Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a biological cold case that has literally puzzled scientists for nearly 60 years. It's a profound mystery, and it exists right inside your own head. You see, for generations, we've been told a very specific, absolute fact about our biology. But incredibly, new research is turning everything we thought we knew completely upside down.
So can adults actually make new brain cells? Think back to what you were probably taught in high school biology. We've all heard the old adage that you're just stuck with the brain cells you're born with, right? The idea was that once you hit adulthood, your brain is essentially a finished canvas. Sure, it might fade or get damaged over time, but you definitely can't add new cells to it. You just slowly lose neurons as you age. But is that actually true? Well, Dr. Marta Peterlini from the Karolinska Institute puts it bluntly. She says, in short, our work puts to rest the long-standing debate about whether adult human brains can grow new neurons. And this isn't just some hopeful speculation either. This is a definitive claim from a groundbreaking new study published in the highly prestigious journal Science, and it means your adult brain is in fact actively growing new cells.
Let's get into part one, the great neuroscience debate, a 60-year-old mystery.
Scientists have actually been fiercely arguing about this since the 1960s. The issue wasn't really belief, it was proof. For decades, we've easily observed mice, rats, and non-human primates making new brain cells throughout their entire lives. It's a perfectly well-documented biological fact in rodents. But getting high-quality adult human brain tissue to prove this happens in us, that is incredibly challenging. Obviously, you can't exactly peek into a living human's brain at a microscopic level to watch cells divide. By the time researchers actually get human tissue from autopsies or surgeries, they're already fighting a massive uphill battle. You've got delays in handling, harsh preservative chemicals, and the sheer thickness of the tissue slices, which all actively hide or even destroy the newborn cells they're desperately trying to find. The evidence was quite literally being erased by the exact methods used to look for it.
Which brings us to part two, finding needles in haystacks, the technological challenge.
This whole situation became a massive technological hurdle. As Dr. W. Taylor Kimberly notes, researchers were trying to find needles in a haystack. And think about the scale for a second. An adult human brain has roughly 86 billion neurons. Trying to spot a tiny handful of newly dividing cells hidden among billions of mature ones, especially after the tissue has been subjected to those harsh chemicals we just talked about, is visually and biologically agonizing. It requires absolute precision.
Now, before we talk about exactly how they found them, let's define what we're actually looking for in that giant haystack. We're hunting for neurogenesis, which is simply the growth of new neurons. And crucially, this is taking place in a specific area called the hippocampus. So why does that matter to you? Well, because the hippocampus is the critical brain region governing your learning, your memory, and your emotions. If new cells are growing here, it means your capacity to learn, adapt, and process emotions absolutely does not freeze when you reach adulthood.
Okay, moving on to part three, a high-tech breakthrough, cracking the code.
To finally crack this, researchers had to step away from traditional microscopes. They utilized something called single-nucleus RNA sequencing. Instead of looking at the physical cell structure, this advanced technique examines the transcriptome. Basically, it reveals exactly which genes are switched on inside individual cells. By reading this active instruction manual, scientists could essentially see if a cell was in the process of developing into a brand new neuron.
Their methodology was incredibly precise. First up, they used fluorescent tags to physically light up and mark the proliferating or dividing cells. Second, they built a machine learning AI algorithm and they trained it on a vast mountain of data from past rodent studies, basically teaching the computer exactly what a neurogenic stem cell looks like at a molecular level. And finally, they mapped exactly where these new cells sit using two separate cutting-edge imaging methods.
To pull this off, they needed massive scale. That machine learning algorithm crunched over 400,000 individual hippocampus cell nuclei. And they didn't just look at one specific age group either. They analyzed tissue from 24 people spanning in age from 0 all the way up to 78 years old. They essentially brought the ultimate computing power to sift through the ultimate biological haystack.
And here is the grand payoff. Using those two highly advanced techniques, the results were completely undeniable. In the first cohort, 9 out of 14 adult brains showed clear signs of neurogenesis. And in the second cohort, a perfect 10 out of 10 showed signs of new neuron growth. So, while the study confirmed that kids naturally produced more cells, the vast majority of adult brains analyzed proved that neurogenesis continues actively well into our later years.
Let's look at part four,
the future of your brain, from lab data to clinical impact.
So we've moved from the lab data to the really big question. How does this impact human aging and health? Because these researchers didn't just find stagnant leftover cells. No, they found groups of dividing precursor cells sitting right next to fully formed neurons in a specific part of the hippocampus called the dentate gyrus. They found stem cells actively renewing themselves exactly where the animal studies predicted they would be. Your brain isn't just surviving, it is actively performing maintenance and building brand new cellular infrastructure.
This brings us to a seriously exciting clinical comparison for the future. Do patients with dementia stop producing these new brain cells, and conversely, are these new neurons the secret weapon that makes superagers remain cognitively sharp well into their 80s and 90s? Uncovering this link could be a real game changer for how we treat brain health.
The untapped potential here is just massive. First off, it fundamentally transforms how we view lifelong learning. Your brain is biologically equipped to keep learning forever. Second, it opens up the potential for entirely new treatments and recovery protocols for brain injuries. And third, it unlocks the true power of neuroplasticity. Your adult brain is an actively adaptable, incredibly dynamic organ capable of remarkable growth.
Which leaves us to conclude with this powerful, provocative question. What is the untapped potential of your brain's plasticity? Knowing that you are quite literally generating new brain cells as you go through your day, how are you going to use them? The science is finally clear on this. Your brain is built to grow. Keep feeding it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.